As a die-hard Star Wars fan, I am utterly disgusted with the Acolyte. This abomination of a show is a slap in the face to everything that George Lucas created and cherished. The creators behind this travesty have completely lost their way, pandering to modern trends and abandoning the essence of what made Star Wars great. Firstly, let's talk about the plot, or rather the lack of it. Set in the High Republic era, it pretends to expand the universe but ends up diluting it with meaningless subplots and irrelevant characters. The central story, revolving around a former Padawan's journey to the dark side, is uninspired and predictable. Gone are the days of compelling narratives like those in the prequels, where we saw the intricate fall of Anakin Skywalker. Instead, we are subjected to a poorly written drama that's more interested in cheap thrills than actual storytelling. The characters are perhaps the most infuriating part of this show. We're introduced to a protagonist who is not only bland but also seems to be chosen more for ticking diversity boxes than for actual talent. This forced inclusion feels patronizing and detracts from the storytelling. I have nothing against diversity, but it should feel natural, not shoved down our throats. Compare this to the prequels, where characters like Mace Windu and Padme Amidala brought real gravitas to their roles without it feeling forced. The supporting cast is no better. We get a range of characters that are either stereotypes or painfully one-dimensional. They lack the charisma and depth of beloved characters from the past. The droids, aliens, and Jedi that once felt like family now seem like strangers, completely disconnected from the rich tapestry of the Star Wars universe. The production values are another sore point. While some effects are passable, the overall look of the show is cheap and uninspired. The set designs lack the grandeur and attention to detail that we've come to expect. The costumes are equally disappointing, looking more like something out of a low-budget fan film than a major Star Wars production. It's as if the creators thought they could mask the weak storytelling with flashy visuals, but even those fall flat. But what truly enrages me is the blatant disregard for established canon. The show takes outrageous liberties with the lore, making it feel like a disjointed mess. Longtime fans will be pulling their hair out over the numerous inconsistencies and retcons. It's clear the creators either didn't do their homework or simply didn't care. This kind of disrespect for the source material is unforgivable. The prequels, for all their flaws, at least respected the core of the Star Wars saga. They gave us epic lightsaber battles, complex political intrigue, and a deeper understanding of the Force. The Acolyte does none of this. It's a hollow shell, devoid of any real substance or connection to the universe we love. Today's episode is brought to you by Hikikomori Slop, the drink that's sweeping the nation, or at least the basements. So what's the big deal about Hikikomori Slop? This isn't your regular beverage, it's a choice for those who embrace the hermit lifestyle, albeit with a dash of irony. Touted as the perfect drink for the modern-day hermit, it playfully labels itself as the ideal companion for losers and undesirables. Its rise to fame is as unconventional as its audience. The might raise eyebrows, but it cleverly captures the essence of self-deprecating humor that resonates with its growing number of fans. But what does it taste like, you ask? Hikikomori Slop surprises with its blend of flavors that mix well, much like the solitude of its consumers. It's not just a drink. It's a conversation starter that breaks the ice even when you're alone. The taste is enigmatic yet familiar, comfort with every sip. It's strangely addictive, making even the most social butterflies curious about the recluse lifestyle. So take a sip and let yourself be intrigued. Embrace the solitude, celebrate your inner recluse, and toast to your own company. Hikikomori Slop, just a beverage, it's a part of your journey to self-discovery. So whether you're a die-hard recluse or just in for a laugh, Hikikomori Slop might just be the drink you needed. Give it a try, and who knows, you might just find your new favorite guilty pleasure. In today's deep dive, we're examining a surprisingly common issue in science fiction media: scientific inaccuracies. These blunders range from minor oversights to major errors that disrupt a viewer's suspension of disbelief. Let's start with the basics: surviving in space without a suit. Scientifically, this is impossible due to the lack of oxygen and the extreme temperatures. Yet it's a scene we've seen more than once across various titles, including The Acolyte. Moving on, let's talk about space combat. In many sci-fi series, space battles are depicted similarly to aerial dogfights on Earth. However, in the vacuum of space, there is no air to provide lift or drag, making these maneuvers unrealistic. Ships in space would need to rely on thrusters for all movement and direction changes, not banking turns as if flying through an atmosphere. Next, the ever-popular lightsabers. While iconic, the physics of lightsabers as solid clashing blades remains a topic of debate among fans. The concept of a plasma-based weapon contained by a magnetic field is fascinating, but lacks a detailed scientific explanation in the narratives. Lastly, let's consider the portrayal of alien ecosystems. New planets and species often appear without any explanation of their ecological roles or evolutionary history. This omission can make these elements feel more like fantasy than science fiction, which begs the question, should sci-fi strive for scientific accuracy? In conclusion, while science fiction allows for imaginative exploration beyond our current capabilities, incorporating more scientifically plausible elements could enhance believability and respect from its audience. It's a delicate balance between the fantastical and the plausible, one that writers and creators continue to navigate. Transitioning from scientific inaccuracies, let's delve into character development within the realm of science fiction, focusing on the Acolyte. This series attempts to blend complex themes with character arcs, but does it succeed in creating believable characters? Our protagonist, hailed as a genius, unfortunately exhibits a series of illogical decisions that seem at odds with her supposed intellect. Her journey towards the dark side is portrayed with a lack of psychological depth, making her transformation feel unearned and superficial. This approach contrasts sharply with the characters from the 2008 film Acolytes. In this Australian horror thriller, the characters are crafted with a realism that anchors the narrative in psychological plausibility. They respond to the dark themes with a logic that aligns with their developed personalities and the real-world situations they face. The stark difference in character believability between these two titles raises questions about the impact of narrative intentions on character development. Are we sacrificing depth for the sake of pushing modern social agendas? This comparison invites the audience to reflect on what makes characters resonate with viewers and how sci-fi can balance between delivering messages and maintaining authentic storytelling. As we explore these themes, it becomes clear that grounding characters in realistic psychological and logical frameworks can significantly enhance the viewer's connection to the story, regardless of the fantastical elements surrounding them. After examining the character development issues in The Acolyte, let's shift our focus to another critical aspect that often derails the credibility of a sci-fi series: plot holes and logical inconsistencies. Imagine a world where our protagonist, a so-called tech genius, can infiltrate top-secret databases in one scene and then fumbles with basic technology in the next. This jarring inconsistency not only disrupts the flow of the narrative but also challenges the viewer's suspension of disbelief. In stark contrast, the 2008 film Acolytes maintains a cohesive plotline where every action and decision aligns with the established capabilities and motivations of the characters. This attention to detail fosters a believable and immersive world. It respects the intelligence of its audience and adheres to the internal logic set by the narrative, something The Acolyte struggles to achieve. The frequent lapses in logical reasoning seen in The Acolyte raise significant questions about the series' narrative integrity. For instance, when characters that have shown high levels of technological prowess suddenly struggle with simple tasks, it not only feels like a betrayal to the character's development, but also to the audience's expectations. This lack of consistency can be infuriating for viewers who value a well-constructed sci-fi universe, where the rules of the world are adhered to meticulously. In conclusion, while The Acolyte attempts to weave complex narratives and rich character backstories, it falls short in maintaining logical coherence. This makes the series less a feat of science fiction and more a fantasy with sci-fi trappings. For those who cherish the intricacies and intellectual rigor of well-crafted science fiction, The Acolyte might not just be disappointing, it could be a glaring example of how not to construct a sci-fi narrative. As we wrap up this discussion, let's remember the importance of consistency and attention to detail in storytelling, especially in a genre grounded in exploring the bounds of possibility.